Hello everyone. This is Sabine Minsky over at FromHeartToSoul.com. I haven't done a Facebook Live in a while, so I thought I'd be sharing some thoughts around reading other people's energy and the different dimensions, how they function with that reading, and how to use this in our daily life. So here's what I was pondering, is that our world is really made of interactions. We live within society for most of us, and if it's not a physical society, then perhaps you're just on a Facebook society. That's still interactions with others. That's the way that we function, that's the way that we survive, that's the way that we thrive, is through social interactions. And our lives are really made of two tempos. One is the inward focus on our own energy, our own perceptions, our own life, and the other is the outward focus on others. And both nourish one another, both are interwoven, they're not separate, basically. You cannot separate them, they're impacting each other all the time. Even if you encounter somebody with whom you have dissonant viewpoints on life, for example, you're still interacting with them, understanding their own point of view and reaffirming your own point of view on life. Just an example. Now, tuning into other people's energy, what does that mean? That means an impact on our own behavior, which might look like adapting or modifying or determining our own behavior based on other people's energy. And on the other side, we'll be reading, predicting, and trying to influence other people's behavior. So it's always an interaction, and the limit to which we are wishing or wanting or willing to adapt, modify our own behavior, our own energy based on what we see on others, that's really a whole big box of what is it. And I'm not going to plunge into this philosophical question and energy question of, I'm just going to raise it. To what degree should we or can we adapt and modify our own energy, our own behavior for others, and why? That's always the question I'm going to ponder, is why. Are we doing it from a place that feels congruent to ourselves? Are we doing it because we feel that we don't fit in? Anyway, that's not the point of this live. What I really wanted to start off as an introduction is just to underline the constant interaction that we have with others and their energy field. The different dimensions of our energy fields. The first one is the physical one. That means that if you see somebody who is crunched up over in pain, for example, let's go to an extreme, you might guess inside what's going on a physical level for him or her. Somebody who is not capable of using some of their physical abilities, you can guess what's going on a physical level pretty easily. It's straightforward. Your eyes and your brain are enough to understand that to a great extent. Other aspects that are a little bit more delicate, but that still include the physical level. For example, somebody who doesn't want or doesn't like to be touched, or doesn't like for you to be very close to them in a physical realm, that gives you information on their physical level of comfort, but it ties into their emotional and their mental energy makeup. Now, on the emotional level and the mental level, these are things that are not palpable in a physical way, in a way that goes only through our brain, but we've all had experiences in which somebody comes into our visual realm, and we get a sense of what's going on inside of them. Somebody who is crying, somebody who has anger written all over their face. Our face is a very important expressive tool for us, but so is our general posture, our general demeanor. So we tap into other people's physical, emotional, and mental makeup all the time. Most of the time it is done unconsciously. Sometimes we consciously wonder, what is that person living right now? How are they feeling? What are they thinking? That's when we go into the conscious realm of it. But unconsciously, our whole being is constantly permeated with information from other people, because at an energy level, we enter into each other's energy bubbles all the time. Think of our aura can go several meters, even much larger for some of us. So we're always in interaction. If you are sitting on a bus, you are being influenced, and you are influencing all of the people around you. And so I used to be very, I went through a period of wondering, is it wrong to try and read people on an emotional and mental level, like to read strangers, let's say. But the thing is that these third dimension, physical, fourth dimension, mental, and the bridge between third and fourth dimension, which is our emotional world, those are actually public. That's public domain. That's for anyone to tune into, because that's our way of functioning as energetic beings, is through that conscious or unconscious interaction with those realms of another person. This is information that we need to be able to function in a way that is not only automated. Like, for example, if you call up a 1-800 number and the person on the other end of the line is only reading the script that they have in front of them without listening to your tone of voice or the energy that you're putting into it, if you're frustrated or if you're desperate about something, we would basically be like robots, and that's not how our society functions. That's not how we function as energy and human beings. We need to tap into that information, and that's why it's public domain. This is our way of interacting and of nourishing our interactions through that information, if we use it, if we decide to use it to understand the other person better. Now, many of you who are listening to this, one of the complexities, one of the difficulties is that you're highly sensitive to other people's energy. What does that mean? That means that you have trouble determining what you're tuning into, because you have a heightened capacity to tune into other people's energy field, whether they be right next to you or 1,000 miles away if you're thinking a friend, or even total strangers, or even energetic beings who aren't incarnated. You're like a an old-fashioned radio machine that is constantly tuning with that dial button, left and right, right and left, and you don't know where you're at. And if you don't know where you're at with other people, you don't know where you're at with your own energy and your own energetic makeup. So there's too much interaction and too much interweaving, and you don't have clear limits, clear boundaries. So there's this sensation of being a sponge, of not knowing why you're feeling, sometimes feeling like the way that you're feeling today just doesn't correspond to what's going on a mental level. So maybe you caught up on somebody's emotional being, and that's making you feeling sad or whatever, and it's disconnected to how you're leading your day, nothing special, and how you're leading your day on a mental level, which is fine. So learning to understand where you're at on that radio dial and learning how to bring it back to your own frequency, to your own vibration as often as needed. And of course, as you go on and you learn how to do that consciously, you actually, instead of being like this all the time, you're like this, more static on your own frequency. And then you choose whether to tune into somebody or not. You become empowered in that. You become the decider. That's something that empaths, sometimes they feel so overwhelmed that even going out in public and going out in places that are a little bit too crowded, it can be a deterrent because they don't know how they're going to cope, how they're going to handle it. But that's actually coming from a place of disempowerment. But once you realize that all you need to do is become more conscious of your own vibration, your own frequency, and how you are the creator and the master of what's going on with that frequency, and no one else can influence it unless you choose to. There's a whole path of development towards that. And that's what allows me to treat 6-7 people a day with their in osteopathy or in soul coaching, and to be there for them with all of their story, all of their difficulties, all of their shite sometimes, and to be able to connect, get the information, disconnect, and continue with my work, continue with my day, continue with the next person. It's a process, but once you realize that you can be empowered in that, you really start a path of working on this. And of course, sometimes you'll end up going off your path and not knowing what's going on. But once you realize that consciously, this can be redialed, retuned to you as often as needed, it just becomes natural. So it's a question of being patient with yourself with that, and realizing that being an empath, being a highly sensitive person, is a gift. It is a gift to be recognized, to be developed, and to become comfortable with. It becomes an amazing tool in your life when you can get information on someone that can help you understand them, and that can help them understand themselves. If somebody is stuck in a mental rut, and you're able to pinpoint that to them, or to help them reconnect with that emotional part that's missing, so that they can bridge in two issues in their world, in their life, and go beyond it, you become a healer. Quite simply. Or if you're already a hands-on healer, a massage therapist, and you're able to tune into with clarity, without feeling overwhelmed, without feeling lost, you're able to tune into what the person is living on an emotional level, and to be able to voice that to them in an open, loving way. That can be enough for the body to release what it's been holding emotionally. That's a very powerful tool, being able to tune into other people's energy. One note on that, so we spoke of third dimension, fourth dimension, and in between the emotional world. When it comes to fifth dimension and above, which is more of the soul realm, that information is actually private information. So that takes express permission from the person, from the physical person, for you to tap into that information. So going into the Akashic records or beyond, that is with the express permission of the other person. You can always try and tap into the Akashic records of somebody else, but without their permission, it becomes curiosity, it becomes self-involved, and the answers that you are going to get will not be congruent. They will not be. They will not come from source. I just wanted to point that out, because there are some people who would want to act behind other people's backs, sometimes with a good intention in their head, but if you look beyond, there's a self-interest in that. And I'm saying that from a place of me having to learn to discern that, and to really understand what it's like to respect other people's free will and have my own respected too at the same time. So I hope this perspective on empaths and tuning into other people's energy was informative to you, inspiring to you. If you have any questions, drop me a line, drop me a message, or connect with me on From